In the previous tutorial, we learned how to work with aliases. And today I'll show you how to add a reference line to your chart. But before we continue, I wanted to show you another cool trick in a Tableau. So here you can see that your labels are ordered in a specific manner. First comes the label for the percentage and then the label for the actual class or the classification. So if you want to change them, all you have to do is drag one on top of the other or change the order here in the marks pane. So I'm going to take exited and put it above some number of exited, which is our table calculation. So now you can see that first we see the classification and then we see the percentage. Personally, I think this looks better for this type of analysis. And we'll leave it like that. Now I'll show you how to add a reference line. So why would you need to add a reference line? Well, in order to compare your results that you see here with some benchmark. And what will our benchmark be? Well, how about we check how many people exited the company from this sample on average. So generally speaking, without looking at any kind of classification, male, female, country, credit score, anything, we just want to see what is the percentage of people that actually left this company from this sample. And we can create another chart, so we can do a similar procedure but omit a classification. However, because Tableau is so convenient and it's so easy in terms of drag and drop, all we have to do here is just take gender and remove it from the columns. And let's just make some more space. And right away you can see that we've got our new chart. So there's no classification here. And out of the whole sample, there's 80% that stayed and 20% that left. So now we know that the exit rate is 20%. And we can always get back to it this simple way. Just remove your classification and your chart will collapse into just the overall picture for this whole sample. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z twice now to return gender. But now that we know that 20% of people left, how about we add a reference line so that we can then look at it and compare our exit rates that we see for different classes to the overall exit rate. So we're going to right click the axis and here we'll check or select add reference line. And here you've got a couple of options. So you can add a line, you can add a band, you can add a distribution, you can add a box plot. They're pretty self-explanatory. We're going to work with a line and we want to add the line for the entire table. So not per pane or per cell. And here it might be a bit confusing because you've got first you have to choose the value and it's a bit like non-intuitive what you got to do here. Well, actually you got to change this one first here. So you can either do the sum of a certain value and this value has to be present in your worksheet. So that's why we only see this table calculation because that's the only measure that we have present in our worksheet. Once you have more, you'll be able to select different ones. But in this case, we don't want sum, we don't want minimum, maximum, average, median. What we want is a constant, and that's why it's a bit confusing because constant has nothing to do with this specific value. All of the other ones, yes, they work with this specific value that you choose. But as soon as you select constant, the value disappears and you can enter a constant, and that's what we need. So we're going to change this to 0.2. So that's our average. Here you can change the label. So what will it show? It can show nothing. You can show the value and show the computation. So that's when you have like a computation here. You can add a custom label. So in this case, we don't want any label because we already have an axis which tells us 20%. Line. So what type of line do you want? Do you want a dotted line? Do you want a even smaller dotted line? You can change the color. I'm just going to leave it at a standard line. So for 20%. And that's pretty much it. So once we click OK, we've got our 20% line and we can see that females exit or female customers are more likely to exit than customers on average overall, and male customers are less likely. And that makes sense because we only have two categories here. So obviously if one is greater than the other, then one's going to be above average, one's going to be below average. And that is how you add a reference line to your chart. And in the next tutorial, we're going to start replicating this chart for other classifications, and it's going to be lots of fun. So I look forward to seeing you then. Until next time, happy analyzing.